All right, let's start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'Hashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem, Racha Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Your Covenant with Death Shall Be Disannulled. And pretty much the inspiration for this lesson comes through a video I was watching earlier by the brother Micah Allah out of the LA camp out there in Cali. And pretty much he was playing different news clips and just different clips in general. And he was doing a lesson on news and prophecy. And one of the things that caught my attention was the Jake that he played a video on. And the Jake pretty much was in the Christian church, Plantation Christian / Renaissance Christian church. And pretty much there were some things that he said that were pretty, which we already know, but when you have people that reveal it from the inside, it gives it more teeth, so to speak. Now, as the brother said, whether he made that up or not, it's of no consequence, because we know what goes on in there, because it's in the scriptures, and also, because this is, how the so-called religions of America and the world are run. They're run by Masons, they're run by witches, warlocks, so on and so forth, to put a spell on the people, using the book of the Bible as a power tool, to blind them. Now, one thing he said was, he was a young man, he was around 18, 19 years old. Around 18 years old, then at 19 he was made the head pastor or head preacher or something like that. He said, but he didn't have any power to change anything. Anything he saw that might have been wrong, he didn't have no power over it. He was just a puppet. So they set him up as a figurehead because he was good at what he did, I guess, He didn't get into specifics about that. Another thing he said, that they had a meeting, and in that meeting, they said they had to get rid of the men. Certain men, I don't know if it was certain men or all of the men, or most of the men out of the congregation. And I understand why, because men, they reason with logic. Not all men, but most men reason with logic. And I'm pretty sure there were certain things that were happening, and the men were like, nah, we don't know about this, And so they had a meeting to get rid of all of the men out of that congregation, or at least the majority of them. You could watch the video. GMS Behold I Come Quickly, I believe that's the name of the brother's channel. And pretty much what he said was heavy, which was heavy. He said that reminded him of Athaliah, which was the queen, the mother of Ahaziah, which I had just looked up. I didn't remember her son's name. And I had some precepts on this phone that I'm filming with, and I forgot to get them off of there. So, Lord's will I remember where those couple of precepts were at. Matter of fact, one just came to mind. Just write that down, which I was supposed to read through this before I got started, but I just wanted to get into it because, when you got to strike while the iron is hot. And, one thing he said from 19 years old to 22 years old. Let me know if it's too windy so I can switch the camera around a little bit. There's a little breezy out here. And one thing he did say was, from 19 years old to 22 years old, it was hell. And he finally came to the point where he wanted to get out. And the pastor came to him and said that in Freemasonry, you had the entered apprentice, and then you had the helper, craftsman or whatever, however he mentioned it. And then by the time he got to the third level, certain individuals wanted to quit. And pretty much he said, well, what we would tell him in this case, I'm just merely paraphrasing, is you got a right to go. And he pretty much said, well, I should have told him, which he back then he was young, so he didn't have all the arsenal, so to speak. But he said what he should have told him was, like Yahushua said, he comes to separate the sheep from the goat. So be it as it may, Salaki for the long intro. I just wanted to kind of just paint a picture of what was going on in that video, which prompted me to do this lesson. Before I got started, the title came to me, your covenant with death shall be disannulled, which comes from Isaiah 28, which we're going to start with that scripture there. And what you're going to find out is that all of these different churches out here are nothing more than so-called, well, they are religions with a lightly veiled witchcraft. That's pretty much what they are. I guess nobody said anything, so I guess I was asking you brothers if there was too much wind. Nobody said anything, so obviously it's okay. So Isaiah 28, we're going to start at the 14th verse, and it says, wherefore hear the word of the Lord, ye scornful men that rule this people which is in Jerusalem. So pretty much when you read up above that, it was saying how line precept must be upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little, but they were not here. So pretty much these so-called pastors that are in these churches, they're not listening, and they're not going to listen because they have a different agenda. Their mindset is about making money. They're greedy dogs that can never have enough. They do not have the best interests of our people at heart. Their whole thing is about using them, just like the governments use the populace, just like over there in England, they're using taxpayer money to pay for the Queen's, what is it, $9 million or $9 billion, I don't know if it's $9 million or $9 billion funeral. Here it is, the country's in crisis, and they're using the money that the people don't have to pay for this demon's funeral. Anyway, so these pastors do not have the best interests of our people at heart. So it goes on to say, because you have said we have made a covenant with death. And how is that? Because when you get into Freemasonry, you have to go through certain rituals. And in those rituals that you do, in those rituals you have to make a sign that your bowels will get cut out, your throat will get slit, or something like that, if you reveal the secrets of Freemasonry. So what is that? In essence, that's nothing more than a covenant or an agreement with death. That at the point of death, you agree not to tell the secrets. And that's where you have a lot of these pastors that are out here, especially the real prominent ones, the top ones that are in the out there in the news, that have these big congregations. They're nothing more than Freemasons / witches / warlocks, so on and so forth. All right, can you brothers hear me? Because I asked a question twice and nobody responded. If it's too much wind and nobody said anything, so I'm not sure if you can hear me or not. Somebody say something. One of you brothers say something. It says, because you have said we have made a covenant with death, and with hell are we at agreement. Right. Okay, good. All right, cool. Tawada. All right, so it says, and with hell we are at agreement. Tawada for letting me know. So they're in agreement with Esau. And Esau is that devil. Right? It says, when the overflowing scourge shall pass through, right, because the Most High is going to bring a scourge, an overflowing scourge. This is called the time of Jacob's trouble. There's going to be hell to pay out here. And these devils in the churches, these so-called Negro preachers, these so-called Latino preachers, and the rest of them, they're not telling you that some real heavy shit is coming. All they're doing is getting money out of you. and feeding you with lies, and you love it. As we're going to read, when we get to this other precept, you love that shit. You trust in oppression. But when you have something that can benefit you from the Most High, you don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear the benefits of the Lord. You want to hear, all of the BS and the lies and the smooth things, and that everything's going to be all right, and that, sweet Jesus is going to come and help you out. When I mean by sweet Jesus, I'm talking about the other white meat. It says, when the overflowing scourge shall pass through, it shall not come unto us. Right, and that's what they're saying. When the overflowing scourge comes, it's not going to come upon us, because they're putting the people to sleep. They're not preparing them for what's coming. They're not preparing Israel out there, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, mentally for what's coming. They're not warning them. They're not giving them the ability to spiritually brace for what's coming. They're just pretty much just continuing on with the bullshit lies that were perpetrated during the deception period of the Renaissance, all the way up until this very day. And they're helping to push that forward. It says, when the overflowing scourge shall pass through, it shall not come unto us, for we have made lies our refuge, and under falsehood have we hid ourselves. So pretty much what's that? That's nothing more than that untempered mortar. And if you know anything about mortar, if you don't mix it correctly, it's not going to stick right. It's not going to hold. If you have too much water, if you have not enough water, it's got to be mixed correctly. So that untempered mortar is something that you can build. You can build a wall with it, but guess what? Eventually it's going to fall because it's not done properly. The bricks are not going to stick or adhere one to another properly because it's not mixed properly. So these falsehoods that are out there, Yahushua said it best. Those that didn't found their house upon a rock, when the winds come and the storms and the rains and all that, it's going to wash it right away. Why? Because it was not founded upon a rock. And as we read further down in here, you're going to see that. Therefore, thus saith the Lord power, behold, I lay in Zion for a foundation, a stone. So the real foundation is that stone, which is who? Yahushua. What did the Apostle Paul say? He said, no other foundation can men lay than that which is already laid. Which is what? Which is Yahushua. So they're not founding their foundation upon that, because first and foremost, they don't know his name. They don't know his father's name. They don't know what he looks like. They don't know what his father looks like. They don't know that they're the Israelites. So on and so forth. They don't know the true message of the true doctrine of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. It says a tried stone, a precious cornerstone, which is who? Yahushua, because everything starts with that cornerstone. Everything has to start with a foundation. Without a foundation, you can have nothing. I don't care if you're the greatest builder in the world. If you don't have a foundation, guess what? The building is not going to stand. It says, a sure foundation, he that believeth shall not make haste. Why? Because when Yahushua came 2,000 years ago, he made a new and living way to the Father. A safe haven, a refuge, which begins with those names of Yahweh and Yahushua and understanding the true message of the Lord. It says, judgment also will I lay to the line, and righteousness to the plummet, and the hail shall sweep away the refuge of lies. What is that hail that's going to sweep away the refuge of lies? Jacob's trouble. The MO to the TB, which is the C hip. That's coming. And it's coming with force. It's coming hard and heavy. It's coming in hot. It's coming. And it's not going to tarry. And these people out here are not prepared for what's coming. These pastors in these churches don't want to hear it. They're comfortable where they're at. You know, dumb dogs sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber. And the people that they're teaching love it that way too, because they love to hear them smooth things. It says, and the waters shall overflow the hiding place. And your covenant with death shall be disannulled. So the same spell that you got on the people is going to be disannulled. Because the promises that you gave to your congregations are not going to come to pass. Because you're a false prophet. They're not going to be protected when all hell breaks loose. Because you're not giving them the proper battlement, so to speak, to be prepared for this spiritual battle that's coming. It says, and your agreement with hell shall not stand when the overflowing scourge shall pass through. So when the overflowing scourge shall pass through, which is what? Jacob's trouble, then you shall be trodden down by it. So you're going to get caught up in the fray, as they say. You're going to be caught up in that hurricane, tornado, cyclone, category 20 storm of Jacob's trouble that the Lord is going to send. Because you are the ones that are helping these devils build that table. And you're trying to amass people to come to it. Other Israelites to come to it. So that they can stay asleep when this devil comes in like a flood. And you're not going to be prepared. But guess what? You have a lot of jakes out there that are waking up and leaving that demonic ass Renaissance Christianity church. Because there are no answers there. All you do there is go there to get a song and dance, a feel-good sensation, and when you leave just as confused as you did when you got there, or even more confused. You leave broker. You leave without a sense of safety. You leave without the proper knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that's needed, because they don't have the truth in these churches. It says, from the time that it goeth forth, it shall take you. Jacob's trouble. For morning by morning shall it pass over, by day and by night. And it shall be a vexation only to understand the report. Why? Because you don't have the necessary weapons, the necessary spiritual weapons to be prepared mentally for what's coming. Therefore, when it happens, it's going to be just a vexation, of a serious frustration, just to understand what the hell is going on around you. You're going to be caught up in the vortex of hell. And you're going to be wondering, what the hell is going on? Why didn't my pastor tell me about this? What's going on? I need answers. And all along, all the answers that you needed, that were given to you by the Israelites, you rejected. Even other Israelite groups reject the truth of the MO to the TB, which is the C-hip. They're going to get caught up in the fray too. And the ones among them that are part of the elect, they're going to be removed out of that circle. For the bed is shorter than that a man can stretch himself on it, and the covering narrower than that he can wrap himself in it. Right. It's just like you having a 7-foot man on a 5-foot bed with a 6-foot cover. He ain't gonna get no good rest, because his legs are gonna be hanging off, or his head and shoulders are gonna be hanging off, and if it's cold, he's only gonna be able to warm part of his body. And if you leave part of your body out of the covers, you know that cold wakes you up out of nowhere. So they're not gonna have any covering, no refuge. The Lord is going to be that covering and that refuge. But for most, they're not going to have that covering or that refuge. All right? So let's go from there to the book of Micah 2. These are a couple of scriptures that came prior to the lesson. Micah chapter 2, verse 11. It says, if a man walking in the spirit of falsehood do lie, like these pastors, saying, I will prophesy unto thee of wine and of strong drink, he shall even be the prophet of this people. Yeah, because As the Lord said, my people love to have it so. And they're going to get caught up in that fray. And we keep saying it over and 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 over again. Because when it comes to pass, then shall they know that a prophet has been among them. Bottom line. Let me just get a little sip of this water. I try to find a table that was, partially in the sun, partially out of it, but then now it's covered in shade. But it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Jeremiah, this is what I wanted to start off with. What the Spirit had them other precepts come before that, because this is the first precept that came to mind when when this lesson was coming together. Jeremiah 2:33. Why trimmest thou thy way to seek love? Therefore hast thou also taught the wicked ones thy ways. So you're bending over backwards to seek love from these devils that don't have no love for you. And it said that you teach them your ways. And what do? Everything that Jake does, these devils take it, exploit it, and what do? Act like it's theirs. Back when hip-hop, because rap is crap, back when hip-hop was hip-hop, they talk so much shit about it, all kind of crazy shit about it. But guess what? Now every commercial that you see is usually playing hip-hop jingles, or old songs from back in the 60s or 70s. And the commercials, when you hear these devils talking, these Edomites, they're talking like they're really that hip. Using phrases that Jake came up with, slang that Jake came up with. So here it is, you teach these devils your ways, and what do? They exploit it. And you ain't getting no credit for that. You know why? Because the white man invented it. Just like the white man is God, just like the white man is Jesus, just like the white man is every great individual in history. All of these lies that have been taught, because that's what they do. They have no talent. They have nothing to offer. They have no spiritual side of them except for the left-hand side. So what they do is they exploit the people of the world for their resources, whatever they have, and for their spiritual beliefs and benefits. And then they take it upon themselves as if they are the actual authors of these things. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked, man. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? All right, so let's go to Jeremiah chapter 5. Jeremiah 5:19. It says, and it shall come to pass when you shall say, wherefore doeth the Lord our power all these things unto us? Yeah, when you're in the midst of that fray, in the midst of that hell, you're going to wonder, why is God doing this to us? Why is he doing this to us? What did we do? Well, you didn't listen. You pushed the Lord's hand away when he was giving you, that rope. When he was giving you that help, you pushed it away. Then shalt thou answer them like as you have forsaken me, and serve strange gods in your land, so shall you serve strangers in a land that is not yours. And that's what happened to Jake. We worship false gods. We got taken down by strangers, by devils, by other nations to serve them. No different than today. And how are you serving strange gods today? By these so-called churches. And your pastors, the majority of them, are nothing more than Freemasons. Nothing more than lesser luminaries. You have the Boule. You have the what is that? Prince something. I can't think of the name, but another name for it is the Boule. And these devils that you see out there, especially the ones that are constantly in the news or out there in the forefront, they are initiated individuals into the so-called New World Order. All right? And their interest is the interest of the bankers, the one that's paying them that check. And you that are in the congregation, you are giving them money also. For them teaching you a bunch of lies. But the ones that tell you the truth, you hate, you scorn, you gnash with your teeth at. But that's all right. Because eventually it's going to catch up to you, man. Love's going to get you. Love's going to get you. All right, Salakia. It says, declare this in the house of Salakia, Jacob, and publish it in Judah, saying, yeah, because this represents all of the tribes, all 12 tribes. All right? Hear now this, O foolish people. Yeah, because you are a bunch of fools. And without understanding, see, which have eyes and see not, which have ears and hear not. It says, fear ye not me, saith the Lord. Will you not tremble at my presence? Right, because you don't fear the Lord right now. But you know when you're going to fear the Lord? When you start feeling his wrath. When you start feeling him spanking your ass. Then you're going to want to get right. Before a lot of you is going to be too late. Because this is the time. Although the doors of mercy are closing, there's still a chance for you. Still now. This is the time. We're approaching the final, the ending of the doors of mercy being open. Seek ye the Lord while he may be found. It says, which have placed the sand for the bound of the sea by a perpetual decree, which is the Most High, that it cannot pass, and though the waves thereof toss themselves, yet can they not prevail. Though they roar, yet can they not pass over it. Right? It says, but this people have a revolting and rebellious heart. They are revolted and gone. Because you've revolted so much to the point where you actually are gone now. You have nothing, you have nothing to do with righteousness at all. Like the scriptures say, they have a zeal of the Most High, but not according to knowledge. That whole connection that you had with the Most High is gone. The only thing you have is that zeal, but that zeal is misdirected because your fear towards the Most High is taught by the precepts of men. That's why you believe your pastor or anybody in that realm, whether they're deacon, bishop, whatever, the alphabet choir or whatever, you'll believe them before you believe the word of the Most High. And how do we know that? Because every time the words are being brought out to you, you don't accept them. You push them away. You want to fight. You want to, get nasty. You want to get nasty with them. You want to get nasty with the individual. It says, neither say they in their heart, let us now fear the Lord, our power, that giveth rain, both the former and the latter, in his season. He reserveth unto us the appointed weeks of the harvest. So it's the Most High giving you all these benefits, all these goodies, but yet you turn around and give the honor to a foreign god. This is why the Most High cursed you out in Hosea 2. The oil and the wine and the this and the that, the corn that my lovers gave me. They ain't give you they ain't give you shit but a hard time and oppression. And you live it. You love it. It says, your iniquities have turned away these things, and your sins have withholden good things from you, Israel. You Israelites out there, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, and wherever you may be scattered around the world. It says, for among my people are found wicked men, and that is the truth. It says, they lay in wait as he that setteth snares. They set a trap, they catch men. Now let's go from there real quick. We're going to come back Go to Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 1, which this was an actual precept off of that chapter. Proverbs chapter 1, and we're going to start at 10. We're going to read a few verses here. It says, my son, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not. Yeah, because it says, thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil. So how is it that they're enticing you? By trying to get you to conform to this plantation Christianity nonsense. You know? By constantly pushing that in your brain. Don't consent to it. Like the Jake that the pastor told him, look, we having a meeting, we're going to get all the men out of here. You know, you got to do this, you got to do that. Now you got to ride the goat, all that other shit. He should have been left, but, you know, eventually he did leave. He's, you know, the Spirit had him see the light. Now, I don't know if he's run across any Israelites, you know, which he probably is so jaded by that whole situation that he wouldn't, you know, unless the Lord opened up his eyes and his mind and his spirit, he wouldn't go into anything else but that Renaissance Christianity, because he's been so jaded at such a young age by these devils in the church that his mind is all fucked up, even though he said he could see clearly now that the rain is gone. Inside joke. So it says, if they say come with us, let us lay wait for blood, right? And that's exactly what you're doing when you're in these churches, when you're not teaching Jake the truth, the whole 100% truth. You are laying wait for blood, because if you don't tell them, guess what? They're gonna die. But guess what? That blood is gonna be upon your hands. This is why it's so important to really tell the people what the MO to the TB is, which is the C-hip, and tell them the importance and the severity of not accepting that. Because if they accept it, you're going to die. There's no scripture in the Bible that says, and those that received the mark of the beast, eventually they repented and the Lord had mercy on them. Now, the Lord could do that, technically, because it says all manner of sin can be forgiven. But as Elder Pastor Tar said years ago, I don't want to test that theory. So you guys that's out there that's playing around, you better get it right. And they say, well, there's no scripture in the Bible that says they're going to put a C-hip in you. You know, I had to say it like that. They didn't say C-hip. They say that, you know, the whole word. Yes, it is. When you take the time to go into the scriptures, when you take the time to go into the language that they were originally written in. But at the IUIC, they shun that. They don't, what's the word I'm looking for? They don't encourage their members to look words up in the Hebrew and in the Greek, which are the original languages that these things were written in. Nope, if you can't break it down in English, it ain't right. They can never break down anything in the English. They always have to go to the Paleo Hebrew or the Koine Greek. That individual. It says, let us lurk privily for the innocent without cause, right? And that's what they're doing. Because behind closed doors, they're having meetings. Talking about, we got to get rid of this one, we got to get rid of that one, we got to get rid of this. They're not mentally preparing them with the words of the Most High, which they claim to believe in. So don't follow individuals like that. Get the fuck away from them. As far away from them as possible. Scriptures say that to flee from sin as you flee from a serpent. When you see a serpent, and most Jakes don't know if a serpent is venomous or not. You can't tell by looking at it if it's venomous or not. But guess what? If you see a snake, no matter how big or how small, you're going to fucking run your ass off away from that thing. So that's how you run away from sin, from these things. Let us swallow them up alive as the grave. Yeah, because you'll remain in the congregation of the dead. And they're constantly feeding you with that tombstone wisdom that's going to keep you in that dead state. They're going to keep shoveling them skeletons in your mouth, and you're going to keep eating them and stay in that state. And whole as those that go down into the pit. We shall find all precious, we shall find all precious substance. We shall fill our house with spoils. And that's exactly what they do. That's why the pastor doing big pimping. Like that one pastor, which I believe he set that whole thing up. But they robbed his ass. But you know, they stunt. They wear the most expensive suits, the most expensive bell winkies, which is a tie, the most expensive shoes, the most expensive socks, the most expensive drawers, the most expensive tank tops, with the silk, little what you call it, kerchief that you put in the pocket of the jacket. They live they have the most extravagant homes, the most expensive cars. Meanwhile, the congregation is suffering. Fucking devils. It says, casting thy lot among us, let us all have one purse. My son, walk not thou in their way, in the way with them, refrain thy foot from their path. Why? Because their path leads to destruction. And if you follow in that path, guess what? The blind lead the blind, they shall both fall in a ditch. So get the hell away from these pastors, from these churches. Seek Yahweh Bashem Yahushai and His truth, so that you can be protected in these times when all hell breaks loose. For their feet run to evil and make haste to shed blood, right? Because you continuously have these jakes out here in a perpetual dead state, in a situation where they're going to die for what they're believing in. Surely in vain the net is spread in the sight of any bird, right? Because when a fowler, which is a bird catcher, when he sets up a trap, no matter what type of trap you set, whether you set a trap, for a bird or animal, or whatever, if you set it in front of them, it's in vain, because they're going to see it. They're going to, oh, we ain't going there. The purpose of setting a trap is to set a trap so it could be unknown. It could be as a surprise. So it says, and that's why they do it in secret. They've been trained that way, these devils in the churches. These so-called black pastors, these so-called Latino pastors, and the rest of them. It says, and they lay wait for their own blood. They lurk privily for their own lives. Yeah, because eventually they're going to be judged for that. So are the ways of everyone that is what? That is greedy of gain, which taketh away the life of the owners thereof. So these pastors in the churches, they're greedy of gain. That's all they want. And they're using those witchcraft tactics that they learned at these Masonic lodges on the people. Different symbolisms, different ways that they talk, hand gestures, certain things that they say, to keep the congregation baffled so that they can make money off of that congregation. Like that devil Creflo Dollar, he played a recording. Yeah, somebody recorded hell. And he's playing and people are screaming, ah! And the people in the congregation are all nervous and scared. And I said, this motherfucker's a real demon, man, a real goddamn devil, man. But you know what? Those of you that get caught up in that, and stay there, that's what you were created for. The scriptures say that whereunto you were appointed. You were appointed for that. But those of you that are in there, that can see, that have a thinking brain in your head, and that are questioning that whole situation, get the fuck out of there. Run as fast as you can. Flee to the mountains. As Yahushua told, the Israelites back then, when they see the Jerusalem compassed with armies, flee into the mountains, run for refuge, run for cover. So going back to Jeremiah 5, Salaka got something in my eye. Jeremiah chapter 5, verse 27, as a cage is full of birds, so are their houses full of deceit, right? Which is what? These churches. Therefore, they are become great and waxen rich. They're getting paid. They're getting pizzayed. This is why they're able to have those extravagant looking churches. Some of them get private jets and all that. Let's go to Micah chapter 3, verse 5. And to water to you brothers for putting up all those precepts. Your brothers getting down. So like I haven't been able to get to any of them. Micah chapter 3, verse 5. It says, thus saith the Lord power concerning the prophets that make my people err. That's these false prophets in the churches and the false prophets among Israel. The ones that know that they're Israelites. That bite with their teeth and say peace. Yeah, because they're saying peace, but they know they really ain't no peace. So they biting their teeth. It's just like when you're telling somebody a lie and you're like, you know, but you don't really want to, you telling that lie, you know this bullshit, so you're kind of biting your teeth like, oh boy, you know? It says, and he that putteth not into their mouths, they even prepare war against him. Right. And that's why that pastor, that demon, that Mason, told that one young Jake, but they had a meeting, so we got to get rid of these men. Why? Because the men were causing conflict. They probably were asking questions. I said, well, wait a minute, I read over here and this says this and this says that. And they said, you know what, we got to get rid of these guys because the women, they ain't asking nothing. They just sitting there. All they like to do is be told a good story and a good song and dance, some catfish, you know, some fried clams or whatever the case may be, and they good. You know, and and on top of that, they got all the money. These men, first of all, they're broke as hell, and they're causing strife and, you know, and bringing up questions. We don't want to deal with that, so we got to get rid of them. And this is what that devil told those that were in that room. So they prepare war against him that don't put into their mouth. So going back to Jeremiah 5 and 28, we're almost done. I had other precepts I wanted to go to, but you could read it on your own. You know, the story about Athaliah. Jeremiah 5 and 28. It says they are waxing fat. Right, they get paid. And you see a lot of these pastors are real fat. You know, that's all of that shit that they've been shoveling down their mouth. They living good. It says they shine. That's right. Yea, they overpass the deeds of the wicked. Right, because they're more wicked than the wicked, than Esau. They judge not the cause of the fatherless, yet they prosper, and the right of the needy do they not judge? Right, because they're not giving you the answers that you need in order to be able to be mentally prepared for what's coming. All right, so let's go from there real quick like. Let's go from there to the book of Isaiah chapter 1. I'm going to read a couple of verses. Isaiah chapter 1 and verse 23 and 24. It says, thy princes are rebellious. That's dealing with your leaders. The leaders of this people cause them to err. Isaiah 9:16. Thy princes are rebellious and companions of thieves. And that's all they do, rob you and tell you lies. And rob you and tell you more lies. And then rob you and tell you more lies. Which all of those lies are going to lead to your death. Everyone loveth gifts and followeth after rewards. This is why the Lord said not to accept any gifts, because a gift destroyeth the heart. It says they judge not the fatherless, neither doth the cause of the widow come unto them. Because they don't give a damn about you. All they care about is getting the benefits, the rewards. Therefore saith the Lord of hosts, the mighty one of Israel, I will ease me of mine adversaries and avenge me of mine enemies. Because every last one of you is marked for death by the Lord. He's going to get every last one of you phony ass pastors out there. And he's going to get every last one of you phony ass leaders in Israel that know that you're Israelites. Better stop playing with the words of the Lord. Job chapter 12. Now this scripture applies to Esau, but it also applies to these false pastors too. Job 12 and 6. The tabernacles of robbers prosper. That's right. And they that provoke the Most High are secure. And you see that. It says, into whose hand the Most High bringeth abundantly. And you see that. This is why the Apostle Paul said, I have learned to abound, and I have learned to abase. Because you're going to go through those periods where you're going to have plenty, and it's going to be times where you're not going to have enough. But these individuals that's teaching these lies in these churches, they living it up. They're living it up. So going back to Jeremiah 5 and 29, shall I not visit for these things, saith the Lord? Shall not my soul be avenged on such a nation as this? Yeah, because the Most High is going to bring vengeance. A wonderful and horrible thing is committed in the land. The prophets prophesy falsely, and the priests bear rule by their means. And what? And my people love to have it so. And that's exactly what they do, because their fear towards the Lord is taught by the precept of men. And you see that every time you bring the scriptures out, they don't want to hear it. But when the pastor says something, they extol it to the clouds. And what will you do in the end thereof? Because the Most High is bringing judgment. He's bringing a visitation. So what are you going to do when the Lord visits you? What are you going to do when the Lord comes for you? You know? You out there playing games, you know, dealing with that witchcraft, that bullshit ass Freemasonry, and the Lord's going to judge you for all of that. Scriptures tell you, and I believe it's Jeremiah 14, that the pastor's telling you this ain't going to happen, that ain't going to happen, you're going to be all right, you're going to be taken care of. The congregation is going to get fucked up, and guess what? The pastor himself is going to get fucked up by the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. He's setting up Esau and their militaries and these different groups that they have to take you out. They shall be as madmen, sparing none. The Lord means what he says. And it's going to be a very horrible, evil, demonic time out here. But the elect of the Lord will be protected. But the rest of you, you're going to suffer that fate unless you turn to the Lord and repent. Because it's late. The hour hand is ticking. We're coming to the wire. It's coming down to the end. It's time for you to repent. And if you don't, those doors of mercy, once they close, that's it. Seek ye the Lord while he may be found. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. To the next time I say, Shalom.